Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning. I want to start by acknowledging a special visitor that we have this morning. I believe I saw, just peeking as I was getting ready, the Reverend Carlton Smith join us. Carlton is the Pacific Western Regional Lead, who will be our senior clergy for the Pacific West region, and a great colleague of mine. So I want to extend a warm welcome to him and just give him a moment to say hello if he would like to.
Oh, very generous of you, Reverend Kachela. Good to see everyone. Thank you so much. It's great to be with you all. I was talking with my colleagues on the Pacific Western Region team this week, and I said, well, who should I go visit this week, being that I can go anywhere I want to in the world for Sunday worship? And my colleague, the wonderful Sarah Gibb-Millspa, said, oh, you should check in on the folks in Las Cruces. And so that's what brings me here to be with you today. I'm so glad she suggested it. I've been blessed to be with you. Good to see you, Tamara, and everyone else in the congregation. Love you all much. And thank you, Reverend.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. We're glad to have you, and give our regards to Sarah and the rest of the staff, and you're welcome to join us any Sunday. Well, today is special in a few reasons. I want to lift up first that it is National Coming Out Day and the 22nd anniversary of Matthew Shepard's death. We all remember that heinous act. So today we celebrate with all LGBTQ people and all who have endured oppression due to their sexual orientation. Today is also Clergy Appreciation Day. In case you want to send me a gift or send me a present, it's not too late because all of September is Clergy Appreciation Month. So I just want to lift that up for everybody. It would also be my mother's 97th birthday. She died this year on April 15th. Tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day. It used to be called Columbus Day, but we all know that he didn't discover America. The indigenous people who he saw when he landed in the Caribbean had been doing their thing a long time before he arrived on the scene. Well, today is, as you've heard from our stewardship chair person, co-chair, and from our church president, board president, our stewardship kickoff. And our theme this year is Stewardship is a two-way street. Well, I hope that I'm not the only person not living with despair. Last Friday evening, Tamara and I were visiting with my colleague, Bob LaValle, in Albuquerque. And discussing the current predicament in the White House, we noted the difficulties and despair filling many people's lives. And I can honestly say that despite all the difficulties, I remain hopeful. This church has the resources, commitment, and people to grow our ministry and ensure it remains aligned with our mission and vision. We are the church standing for love and transformation in Las Cruces, now more than ever. When we repaired our stained glass windows, we covered it with wood, and then a lovely mural painted with hands created by our DRE and the youth. The mural and its blue background and multicolored hands, to me, represents the open door you continue to swing wide despite the pandemic. Open hands invite the community by saying, come in, be a part of our community. Let's get to know each other. When I did my clinical work in Dallas about 20 years ago at a hospital there, I learned the symbol push-pull. And it goes like this, push and pull. It happens when a person communicates one message inviting you in while pushing you away. Seeing those hands in the church window, I see them inviting folks in. You are all about the invitation and love, saying, we welcome you, whoever you are, wherever you come from, as a part of this community because we know there is a two-way street on the way to beloved community. During this hard time in world history, it is easy to give in to despair. There is a lot of uncertainty looming ahead in the next 3 weeks. Many live with the fear the president won't heed the election results and will contest them, especially if he loses. He's threatened not to concede. I heard a commentary by Walt Rubel, a local commentator who issued 2 predictions concerning the upcoming election. The first is, if Trump gets reelected, our democracy will survive. And the second is, if he loses, he will vacate the White House. I want to affirm both predictions and say, despite the bluffs we hear, democracy is a two-way street. We depend on it surviving because we, the people, have a say about what our government does. It gives me hope the uncertainty we live with will have a positive outcome. Likewise, your great work here generates positive outcomes. During the last 2 years, we have seen many and we will build upon them. We had a successful stewardship campaign last year, which continues to pay big dividends for the community. We hired several new staff members, 4 of whom are people of color, who are making outstanding contributions to the ministry. We have adeptly adjusted to the coronavirus pandemic's forces, taking our ministry to Zoom and never looking back. Our vision is contagious. It's a super spreader and infects everyone in its path. It focuses our attention on the ultimate spiritual concerns. We're focused on engaging in faith development and building up our young people and living in relation with each other. Even amid the pandemic, we're building community, taking advantage of social media, and keeping important issues such as Black and Brown Lives Matter at the edge of our attention. We're making sure people in our community who are homebound know we care about them and love them. Still, we find ourselves amid a revolution. We've been engaged in that movement and leaders in that movement, assuring our voice is prominent in the fray. These are the reasons I am hopeful. I sleep soundly at night, knowing whatever challenges this congregation faces, we will meet them. We face down obstacles and dismantle them. This congregation has the most talented, compassionate, loving, social justice minded, and children loving people in all of Las Cruces. We never cannot rise to the challenge. Our history shows that. If anyone doubts whether we will continue flourishing in the coming year, all they need to do is go back and look at the ways this church met its challenges in the past. In his essay, The Optimism of Uncertainty, the historian Howard Zinn says this: to be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is because human history is a history not of only cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. You can feel the power in those words today, even though he wrote them in 2004. We can sit back and focus on the dysfunction in the nation's capital, or we can focus our attention on compassion, sacrifice, and kindness. I believe that you, like me, strive for the latter. History needs our compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness to one another. Small things create big changes in daily life. Zen says, The revolution won't take place in one cataclysmic event. And Gil Scott Heron, the late great philosopher musician, sang, "The revolution will not be televised." We should be suspect of anyone who promises either. I preach about love because the revolution takes place in your hearts. That includes checking on your family, calling up your friends and staying in contact with them, having meaningful conversations that allow you to say what's on your heart. You can focus your attention, but you must focus on your attention on what you can do, the actions you can take, the things in your control. This is the perfect time for making a mantra of the Serenity Prayer, attributed to the theologian Reinhold Niebuhr, which says, "Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." The founder of the nonprofit organization called Beer Culture, Letitia Cook, says our collective goal is simply being human. In her words, being human means listening deeply to one another, respecting each other, and doing what we can to show we sincerely care about each other. These small shifts create big changes, revolutionizing the world one person at a time. Now, just in case you're wondering, why is XK talking about beer on Sunday morning? Well, I heard Letitia Cook on a podcast called Good Beer Hunting. And as I said, the revolution is not televised. So you have to get your eyes and your ears attuned to any sources of inspiration that you can find. We all need big events too, like the protests in Washington, Reverend Barber's ministry, the People's Campaign, and the unrest after George Floyd's death. That spiritual work makes nationally elected leaders woke. It shows them we, the people, are serious about change and expect accountability. We did 2 sidewalk protests at the church. With 20 plus people lined up, we held our protest sign saying, "Black Lives Matter, Brown Lives Matter, and I can't breathe." Peaceful demonstrations keep locally elected officials woke too. Now they're installing our new Black and Brown Lives Matter sign today. I asked Sarah to project it so you can see what it looks like, and there it is. We'll have this installed this afternoon, and they say they'll have it before sunset. That sign will be a permanent contribution, keeping people woke in our community. And I thank the 3 donors who made the sign possible. All this work is a manifestation of you being good stewards of the church's mission, the work that we're called to do. This is a two-way street. When you give to the church gives back to you. Some say you get proportionately what you give. Well, I don't know about that. Whether you give time, talent, and or treasure, the church gives you, its members, friends, and guests, a sense of belonging and purpose. We strive toward that direction every day. We have survived a hard 7 months. The pandemic did its best to stop our ministry. And as you know, it is no respecter of persons. That means the pandemic has no prejudice against Unitarian Universalists, Catholics, Disciples of Christ, Baptists, Methodists, Buddhists, Muslims, evangelicals, humanists, atheists, pagans, or those not connected with the church. The coronavirus strikes all religions and the non-religious without prejudice. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5 verse 45 reminds us the universe causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous alike. The pandemic has taught us a couple things, as Brother Bill Sinkford said in his sermon to the First Unitarian Church of Portland, the largest UU church. He wrote, if COVID-19 has taught us nothing else, one of its most important lessons is the truth that we need others. The isolation force on many of us wore thin quickly, and we find ourselves confronting two uncomfortable truths. First, the reality of our complete dependence on all of those lower paid frontline workers who have continued to show up while some of us have been able to shelter at home. The inequality of our two-tiered system has gotten worse. It takes genuine effort not to see it. In our dependence, it is so clear. That's the first truth. The second truth is not that we cannot survive apart, because with the help of those frontline workers, we can survive. The second truth is that we do not want to survive alone and in isolation. We yearn for community. Brother Sinkford continues saying, but we find ourselves underprepared. We don't have the habits of accountability, the habits of real community ingrained. We're out of balance. We need to develop a sense of we that is as compelling as our affirmation of I. And I end the quote there. This, my friends, is the ongoing work of stewardship in the coming year, cultivating a greater sense of we. 2 weeks ago, we heard the video of Elandria Williams, the deceased UUA co-moderator, when she asked us from her hospital bed these questions. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? For what will we be known, and how will we get it done? We gotta get her done. These questions center on the we. This is in stark contrast to the normal I we so rely on heavily in America. We pride ourselves on being free people. As we kick off our stewardship campaign, think about the we. How do we stay connected to this place? It is easy getting wrapped up in our own little worlds, regretting and fretting because we can't get together. We've created many opportunities to get together virtually here at the church. We have a weekly caring conversation on Wednesdays. We have the TGIF social time, trivia and bingo games on Saturdays, board meetings, social justice meetings, the 8th principal team meets, the roundtable, RE, and soon to be Evensong. All you have to do is show up. You can also, with intention, reframe your outlook and focus on how we'll be when we return to on-campus life. This is how we create checks and balances, or accountability, as Brother Sinkford said, for our personal and collective actions. This is the spiritual work we must do to stay woke. It is a small, quiet revolution, but there's no rule saying a quiet revolution can't cause a ruckus. I close with Howard Zinn's words. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents with a T. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. Let the pledge drive start. Let us swing wide the doors of the church, invite in everyone, virtually for the time being. And remember, stewardship is a two-way street. And don't forget, the revolution will not be televised. It happens in your hearts. Ashe, and may it be so.